Okay, good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Gretchen Skoke DeSanto. I'm an associate professor here in business management, and I welcome you to learn from leaders here today. Well, it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker here today. This is Mr. Paul Palagi. He's the executive director and CEO of our Lake Metro Parks. Can I see a show of hands of how many of you have been to a Lake Metro Park?
Yeah, Eric.
Love it, love it.
Eric.
How many of you love the Lake Metro Parks? Okay, excellent. Thank you, thank you. So Paul has a wonderful background. In addition to being at the parks now since when?
11.
Okay, since 2011. Prior to that, he has worked for two United States senators. He lives in Washington, D.C. for a number of years as their legislative director, and he has also worked with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. It's been my pleasure to work with Paul, essentially as his boss.
Yeah.
For the last
Not essentially.
6 years.
Not essentially.
Yeah, I am his boss.
That's my
okay?
boss.
And I love working with him. He displays the wonderful leadership qualities of cooperation, collaboration, open-mindedness, and I think that's a lot about what he's going to talk to you about today. So with that said, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Paul Palagi.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Gretchen. Hello. So it's going to be pretty casual today. Oh, come on, don't need that. Very casual today. One thing I ask you is start now thinking about some questions for the end so we don't hit a dead spot at the end where you don't have any questions. So any questions about the parks, not just about what I talk about today, but anything about the parks, come up with a couple that'll make that last 15 minutes or so a little less uncomfortable than just sitting here staring at each other. Okay, little background, as Gretchen said. I grew up here in Lake County. I grew up in Madison, went to Madison High School. Went to Kenyon College down outside of Columbus, had my BS in English and political science, went to work in the state legislature after that, was in the state legislature for a few years, then worked for the governor of the state of Ohio for a few years, moved to Washington, D.C., worked in the United States Senate, covered natural resource policy, ended up being what they call legislative director. So for two U.S. senators for about 12 years, my job was to coordinate all the staff on the policy issues. So when an issue came up or the senators wanted to work on something, it was my job to make sure that we had the right people in the room to educate the senator about what was going on. Was there through 9/11, was there in anthrax attacks, was there in a number of ugly periods of time for the Capitol, but it was quite a moving experience. But I was really happy about 8 years ago to be able to come back home. The parks has always been something that I loved. Lake County has an amazing set of parks, and that's not just the metro parks, the Mentor parks, the Willoughby parks, local park districts. If you've grown up in Lake County, it's hard to recognize how great we have it from the standpoint of parks and access to Lake Erie and access to rivers. If I've got a number of friends who have moved away and said, this stinks, there's no parks. Affluent neighborhoods outside Chicago don't have the park systems that we have. So I hope you learn a little bit more about the parks today and get an opportunity to get out and enjoy them. One of the things I wanted to do, start off, is give you a little bit of a background on Lake Metro Parks. Those of you who live in Lake County, these are your parks. You pay for them. We're called a special park district under the state law in Ohio. We were formed in 1958, was our first park, Helen Wyman Park in Paynesville. And basically the state recognized, as many states do, special park districts are different from county government. We're not part of the county government per se. You have 3 county commissioners who handle county government. We're not at all related to that. We're not connected to that. We're our own taxing authority, so we can raise taxes. We have our own police force in our rangers. We own land, we can buy and sell public land. So we started in 1958 with one small park. Today, we're about 9,200 acres, 37 different properties, primarily along the Grand River and the Chagrin River, and a couple of special facilities such as the Farm Park and Penitentiary Glen, and then a couple of locations on the lake shore. Our priority is really protecting the natural resources of Lake County for future generations. We're not the park district that's going to build swimming pools. We're not the park district that's going to have basketball courts. We're very lucky that there are a lot of municipal park districts that have those amenities in Lake County, and you have a great outdoor YMCA. So altogether, we provide quite a wide range of recreational opportunities, but our job in that niche is to really look at the natural areas and the great natural resources of Lake County and try and protect those and provide access to them for future generations. Our governance structure for a special park district, there's a probate court judge in Lake County, and that probate court judge can create a special park district. Ours right now, the Honorable Mark Bartolotta is our probate court judge. The probate court judge appoints 3 commissioners to serve on a park board. They're unpaid volunteers like Gretchen. They each serve 3-year terms, and one of them is always expiring. So there's always one of them that is up for renewal. But the board really sets the top dollar ranges for us. They set our budgets, they decide land acquisition, they decide major policy decisions, they hire the executive director, and hopefully don't fire him. But that's their job, is to really set the standard and point us in the right direction. And what's been great about this board is they point us in the right direction, and then they let us go do our jobs, which is really appreciated by us. So number 1 priority in the parks, provide clean and safe parks. It's very simple, and I want to emphasize getting into a little bit of the management idea. What you're going to hear me talk about, don't lose sight of your focus. Don't lose sight of your core mission. It's very easy to do when you become a manager and you've got a million day-to-day things going on. You can very easily, and I've seen brilliant people running very large companies and very large agencies lose sight of what their core job is. And every day you got to ask yourselves when decisions come up, is that helping or detracting from my core? Is that going to help me do the thing that is really central to what we're doing? It might be a great thing to do. It might be really nice, but it's going to take time and resources. And those are time and resources that if it's not directed at your core mission, should you be doing it? So our core mission is to provide clean and safe parks for the residents of Lake County and to protect our natural resources for future generations. Our third thing that we've really taken on in the last 10 years has been improving public access. So we had all these properties spread across the county, but many of them were not accessible. There weren't parking lots, there weren't trails. So about 8 years ago, we really started focusing on how can we better provide public access to land the public owns. We extended our hours of operation. We used to close at sunset, which anybody knows around here in November is about 5:30 at night. The parks would close. Well, that's ridiculous. They're neighborhood parks, most of them. We kept them open till 11 o'clock, and people said, oh my gosh, that's going to be terrible. You're going to get, crime and all these problems. It got better because everybody's carrying a cell phone, and bad actors know they don't go into a park full of people with cell phones and do something illegal. They go somewhere else where there aren't a million people wandering around with cell phones. So we expanded our access through later opening. We opened a number of parks that had been closed before, built simple trailheads, simple parking lots, just give people access to the land that they own. Over the past 4 years, we've done a number of, and I started to go back. I used to do this slide that would go back 8 years, but I had too many things on it. But in the last 4 years, we opened a great new 200-foot pier out at Paintsville Township Park. Who's been there? Anybody been out there? It's beautiful. Great fishing, great sunsets, just a great view over the lake. We opened in a 50-foot tower, observation tower at the top, at Lake Erie Bluffs on the east end of the property off Clark Road. Great view of the lake. Great view if you've never been there at night, on a clear night. Amazing place to go out there and watch the stars because it's surrounded by a lot of farm fields. You don't get a lot of light pollution. You get an incredible view of the sky at night. So if you haven't been there, I encourage you to check that one out. Built a new nature play area at Penitentiary Glen in Kirtland. I'll talk a little bit more about nature play. Built a new archery range and shelter at Hidden Lake. And we continued our programs how many people have been to a program like Haunted Hayrides or Country Lights? Okay, keep those going. Core to our mission, get people outside. So getting into the management lesson, when I looked at Gretchen's list of potential things to discuss in this management, I'm going through them and going, yeah, that one's important. Communication, team building, ethics. All those general terms that you will learn about in your management classes, they're all equally important. You can do great things, but if you don't have good team building skills, you're going to have a problem as a manager. You can do great things with your team building, but if you don't have a good hiring process, you're going to have a problem as a manager. So all of these different components that you learn about it as a manager, you have to pay attention to all of them and recognize your weaknesses when you go in and say, okay, this is my weak link in the chain, and work at those. But the two things I want to talk most about today, having a vision, which is the easy part, and letting others improve on it, and recognizing your own personal attributes and how they impact you as a manager. What are your strengths and weaknesses? And that's hard. That's looking in the mirror and being really self-critical. So I'm going to go through a little bit of this as it relates to how we built this nature play area at Penitentiary Glen. So I need to give you a little background on what nature play is. Several years ago, 2008, a gentleman, doctor by the name of Richard Louv, L-O-U-V, wrote a book called Last Child in the Woods. And in that book, he collected all kinds of research that had been done on child psychology, child development, and focused on how, over the past couple of generations, youth activities have changed. And by that I mean, I'm 51. When I was a little kid, my mom shoved me out the door in the morning and said, go play. When it was time to eat dinner, she rang a bell on the back porch. I lived in Madison, suburban area, lots of houses around. She had no idea where we were. No idea what we were doing, but she knew when she rang that bell at 5 o'clock, I was going to get my butt home. And my neighbors had a whistle, and somebody else had a bell that they clanged around. But there was a change in a couple of generations where young people were discouraged from going outside for a wide range of reasons. Safety. People were worried about human and animal predators, bees, poison ivy, sexual predators. You're going to get kidnapped. Parents started to get very concerned about allowing their children to go outside by themselves without adult supervision. Athletics, extracurricular activities have become more intense. As a father of 2 kids, I can tell you it's amazing. I played 3 sports in high school. I couldn't play 3 sports today. The sports go year-round, and they're very structured, and they have a lot of time. So there were all these constraints now on kids. There's not a lot of downtime where kids just go outside and play. And when they do, they go to a playground, and there's parents, and there's people watching them. Or they go to a program like one of ours, and there's rules, and there's structure. This is how you play. Legos. How many people grew up playing with Legos? Okay, when I grew up playing with Legos, there were no preset things. You got a box of Legos, and you built what you imagined. You created something of your own. Now, they come in a preset thing with a bunch of directions, and you build X. And there's a way to do it right, and there's a way to do it wrong. And since having built tons of them, there are a million ways to do them wrong. And if you don't do every step just as the instruction book tells you, it doesn't work. Zero creativity. Zero creativity in the creation of that. Very hard to even find just random boxes of Legos anymore. And kids want to have that creative side. Go see what those kids do with those after they break them up. And they build other stuff. So nature play was this idea that Richard Louv brought all this child psychologists and all these experts together and said, you know what? There's an impact to that on child psychology. What they're finding is that children having these very structured experiences, if they have any outside, are very structured. Children are afraid of nature. Nature's going to be bad. Being out in the woods is a dark, dangerous place. You'll get poison ivy if you touch it. Don't touch that, it'll sting you. Don't go over there, you'll get lost. And what they found is that it is limiting children's ability to be creative. It is limiting their ability to interact with other children. And they see that as the children grow up. They're always looking for what are the rules? Where's the referee? My generation, when we were younger, you knew that you didn't mess with Todd because Todd had all the cool stuff. And if you messed with Todd, he took his stuff and went home. So you let Todd make the rules of the game so that you can play with all of his cool stuff. Today, you don't like what Todd's doing, you go to Todd's mom. There's a referee. There's always an adult around. So what the park people in this idea of, he coined a term called nature deficit disorder. And that is the idea that children are lacking in an opportunity to go outside into a natural setting, not a metal playground, not a structured place, a natural setting. Leaves, grass, pricker bushes, sharp things, sticks, rocks for gosh sakes, sand, water, natural things, and have an unstructured experience in them. There are no rules. Not going to show you how to build the fort. Not going to show you how to play with the sand. Not going to show you how to build something. And that creativity that comes from that opportunity to be in that natural setting, they get their hands together. And they learn, lo and behold, physics. They learn better what fort works and what fort doesn't work, and what braces will work, and how much weight you can put on something. They may not know what the term is for that principle, but they're going to learn that if you put a weak stick in your roof and you pile heavy stuff on top of it, it's going to break. It's going to land on their head. That lesson is they're going to internalize more than any lesson they're going to get in a classroom. So there's been a lot of this in nature play, a lot of nature play programs out there. We're trying to get more kids, and most importantly, it's you guys. It's the parents, or soon-to-be parents, to understand how important it is for your child's psychology to go out and get dirty, to learn that when they fall down and bruise their knee, they're not going to have to go to the hospital. They can get scratches, bumps, dinks, and they'll survive. They'll get poison ivy and they will survive. They'll get stung by a bee, they will survive. So we wanted to create a nature play area. So I had been a big fan of this. I'd read about this on the national level. I met the author of the book. I wanted to create a nature play area. I had a vision in my head. Managers, you need to have a vision. If you don't have a vision, nobody's going to have it. Or you're going to have a million of them, which is worse. You're the manager, you're the head of a department, you're the head of a company. You've got to have that vision. There's a whole books about how to build your vision. I'm not going to get into that. We don't have enough days. But you've got to have a vision for what you want to accomplish. So I knew nature play. I want to have it no metal, no plastic. I want no signs in it that tell me what type of flower is this, what type of flower is that, touch this, play this way. None of that. I want nature. I want it in a safe area where parents can just let their kids go. Okay, so I had this vision as a manager. That's key. Got to have it. Natural things. Okay, I want rocks and grass. Guys come in and say, how about a tube? Well, as long as you hide it under rocks and grass, right? I want kids to be able to touch it. I need kids to be able to get close to it. It's got to be kid-sized, not our size, kid-sized. Most of the people who go to Penitentiary Glen in this area, most of our clients, our visitors, under 12 years old. Got to know who your clients are. So we built it for kids under 12. And you had to sit there and go, guys, you're building some big structure. It's too big. You need to make it for a little kid. Right size it for them. So then that guys come in and they say, Paul, we got this great idea. We want to do these arbors. And I was like, oh, metal. Come on, guys, metal. We don't want metal. We want natural materials. It wasn't part of my vision. It was actually counter to my vision. And I hemmed and hawed and I argued with them. They were right. That's what it looked like after a year. That's the same metal trellis. They were right. I let it go. Totally counter to my vision. The important thing is, this is the second issue I was going to say, you've got to trust in your team to take the vision to the next step and make it theirs. But you also have to recognize, what is your own weakness? It's easy to know your own strengths. It's hard to know your own weaknesses. One of my weaknesses is, I love a vision, and I'm one of those visual thinkers. Mine is very specific, down to the finest grains. And I get wedded to that. And I know exactly why I want everything to be the way it is. Down to the signage, down to every little bit. And my fault is, I tend to want it my way. So I recognized that in myself when this issue came up, and I said, okay, see the forest for the trees, literally. This is going in the right direction. I disagree with the staff, but I'm going to let it go. They were right. Then they tell me they want to put a canoe in the ground. Giant metal, and I'm like, an aluminum canoe? How many people have been in an aluminum canoe? You know what those things sound like when you hit something on them? It's like a gunshot, right? Like, guys, nature. Nature. What are we going to do with an aluminum canoe? It's not only going to be a big piece of metal, it's going to sound terrible when those little kids hit it with sticks. They're going to be out there drumming on it. You're going to hear it a mile away. Not part of my vision. All right, I'll trust you. Trusted my very smart people. Guess what? That thing creates more creativity. They filled it with sand. Brilliant. Kids are playing with sand. They're getting dirty. They're pretending to be explorers. Okay? These are my two kids. My son says to me, look, Dad, I'm Lewis. And his older sister said, no, you're Clark. Because he was younger. I was like, wow. Wow. They figured that out. Okay? I have to recognize what my weaknesses are. As managers, you have to. Maybe your weakness is, like me, you have something and you want it to be right and it's not because it's your way, it's because there's a reason behind it. I have reasons for all of this. It's not just my way. I had logical reasons for wanting things that way. Maybe you're somebody who puts things off to the last minute. Okay, think about that. Plan for it. Maybe that's the only way you work. It's the only way I work. I work better under pressure late. I've tried to do things ahead of time. I don't do them as well. I'm not as focused. But what that means is I need to know that before I do something big that I know I'm going to procrastinate on, I need to have my schedule clear so that I have time to focus on that at the end. Because I know what my own faults are, and you plan and react to them. Don't necessarily try and change yourself. This was me trying to go, okay, it's not my vision, but I'm going to let it go and I'm going to trust our people. I'm going to let them have some impact and some ownership on this. And they came out and they painted, that was when they put it in the ground, that was a silver canoe. It looked terrible. And all of a sudden some woman came out from one of our staff who's incredibly good and said, can I paint it? And they said, sure. And she painted this incredible setting on it. It's awesome. And I said, now wait a minute, I got to draw a line, guys. You're going to build some manicured gardens. You're going to plant them with all these different plants and things. They're gardens. These are little kids. They're 8, 10. That to them is going to scream, don't touch it. That to them is going to scream, no, that's mom and dad's garden. And I know I don't go pick mom's flowers. We want them to pick flowers in nature, but we want them to get their hands dirty. And I really had a problem with this one. I said, guys, you're building a little garden center. How are kids getting close to nature? How are they getting their hands dirty? How are they actually you guys are going to be the gardeners. You're going to plant all these plants. Wrong. We were both wrong because the kids destroyed those gardens. Absolutely destroyed those gardens. And they got muddy and dirty. And my staff are all going, oh my gosh, they're destroying our gardens. And I'm going, yes, they are destroying your gardens. Awesome. And look what they're learning when they do it. They're getting muddy and dirty. And parents would come in and say, oh my gosh, my child has never been that muddy. I said, yeah, guess what? That's what a hose is for. They'll get cleaned up. They'll find out dirt doesn't taste good. Okay? They learned more and taught us more about erosion on this project than we would ever imagine. Okay? Absolutely didn't think this one would work. I was absolutely wrong. Now, we set aside a couple of them. We plant some of them with some things further away. I don't know if you can see it over here on the right. This is a water source. So we thought, oh, there'll be a little hose there for us to water the garden. Guess what the kids did? They immediately figured out, take anything that holds water, fill it up with water, and dump it in those planters and make mud. Guess what? They threw it. And they built stuff out of it. And they were creative with it. And they watched how they would work the mud out of the way to drain the water off. What did they learn? Hydrology. They learned fundamental hydrology. I have no idea what the word hydrology means, but that's what they learned. People here and other places will teach them someday what hydrology means, but they learned about it playing in nature. And then we had gardeners. We had gardeners who came out every week and they had to water plants. They were the tenders and the nurturers, right? We found that there were the destroyers and the nurturers. The destroyers just made it, they took those little shovels and things, they peeled the siding off the garden shed. They tore it apart. And our people said, what do we do? I said, just put it back on. They said, but they'll tear it apart again. I said, right. Let them go. Let them be kids. They might get dinged up. So as a leader, got to have a vision. You got to have yourself a vision. Okay? But have the guts to let other people take it over. And it is one of the hardest things to do because you're responsible. But if you don't, here's what happens. And I've seen this in large agencies across the state, across the country. Directors come in, they've got all the credentials, they're smart, you're the manager, you've got the seniority, you've got the training, you know all. And you're going to tell everybody how to do things. Craft your vision. And all of a sudden, the people around you on your team, they have no option, no outlet for creativity. And your way is always the way. And all of a sudden, you need some ideas from them. And they go, well, what do you want us to tell you? Just tell us what you want us to tell you. You'll get people who won't tie their shoes until you tell them how you want them tied. It can just petrify and freeze an organization if a manager is too controlling. If they are too much my way, this way, got to happen down to the nth degree. But you better, as a manager, know all those things. You better have a plan for all that. There was a great article I read by the CEO of Google. He said two words that were really impactful that he tries to remember all the time. Disagree and commit. Disagree and commit. Said foundation of what he does and how he manages decisions. Hire really smart people, smarter than you. When they come up with ideas that you think are counter to the way you would do it, you disagree with them. You say, I think you're wrong about this. And here's why. It's structured. It's too man-made. It's not natural. I'm going to disagree with you. And then I'm going to commit to follow you. And we're going to do it your way. Every bit of it. Because I believe in you, and I'm going to trust in you. And I'm going to commit. And if this bombs, if everybody says this is terrible, why the heck you do it? It's my fault, not yours. That's the commit. My fault. I'm responsible. My idea. Yep, I came up with this. It was a terrible idea and it bombed. That, for your team, gives them the freedom to know that they can be creative and you've got their back. We have come up with ideas in the parks, Gretchen, plug your ears, that have bombed. My responsibility. Not my idea. My responsibility. Big difference. When the public wants to yell, they go to me. I tell our people, somebody gets angry on the phone with you, send them to me. Let me get yelled at. And that's not me going, oh, I'm going to yell back at them. I'm not. I'm just going to take the beating. I'm going to take the beating. I'm going to apologize. I'm going to try and make it right. But you've got to have a vision first, and then you've got to let your people take hold of it. And if you don't have a vision, you're not sure, ask them. Some of our most successful things that we've done at the parks over the years, I've got a group of really smart people in the room and say, guys, we have this problem or this opportunity and I have no idea where to go with it. Where do you guys want to go? Think about it. Let's come back in a month and have a meeting. What are we going to do at this property? And they go, well, what do you want to do? I don't know. I don't have any ideas. But you're the director. Yeah, well, I'm a human being too, and I don't know what the heck to do with this piece of property. Let them go. Okay? But you got to know what your own shortcomings are in that whole process and be honest with yourselves. Nature Play, 47,000 people through a 1-acre piece of property next to Penitentiary Glen in 1 year. 47,000 and counting in 1 year. It's been a pretty cool thing. Okay, so you've had all that time to think of cool questions, right? Right? Who's going to go first? We made sure that we didn't put anything in there that was like berries, so that there would not be a confusion between what they might eat and not eat. But we also didn't put up any signs, eat this, don't eat that. We just decided to keep it. At first we were going to plant strawberries and there were going to be blueberries and things, and we said, guys, mixed message here. Let's just have nice, pretty plants in there. And instead what we do a lot of is grasses, a lot of flowers, and we tell them, pick them, pull them, rip them apart. We'll plant more. But no, we didn't. We went out and looked at the strawberries and went, maybe we should take those out. Good question, though. The idea is that once you start to sign things, you're telling the kids, here's the adult telling you what this is. The point of this area is not to teach them, from our perspective, what a thing is. It's to get them out, tactile experience, playing with it, tearing it up. But what's fun is that we've had some kids who have shown up in there with field guides. And they start looking and saying, well, I know what that one is. Because that's that kid. I was never that kid. A couple of my staff people, absolutely those kids. They have worn out field guides because they want to, that's their mind. That's how they work. I want to know what this plant is. I want to know what that one is. But we didn't want to fill it again with signs. We have one area as you go in where I said, here's the front 5 feet. That's where the signs are going. No signs throughout. Yeah, but why are you discovering the sign? You know what we did instead? We hid fossils. Unlabeled fossils. Why label it? Let them discover it. We took little logs about this big that had been hollow, cut them off into sections about that big, so you had a tube. Put a little piece of wood on the bottom of it. Now you have a natural little bowl, kind of a bowl. It's a little hidden area. Said, okay, guys, fill it with weird stuff. Fill it with seashells and stick it under a bush. Fill it with fossils. Hide it under some grass. Fill it with whatever nuts. We've got the Wildlife Center there at Penitentiary Glen. We got tons of feathers. Just put a bunch of feathers inside of one of those things and stick it somewhere and let them discover it. Don't show them with a sign where it is and what it is. Let them discover it. Let them try and figure out what it is on their own without telling them. Let them know that nature's full of discovery. There's cool stuff every time. We put rocks out just in a certain size and locations that we knew stuff would live underneath them so they could flip them over. But we don't have signs out there saying, go flip the rocks over. Some kid's going to flip a rock over and find something, and another kid's going to see him find it, and they're going to go, cool, we can flip rocks over and find stuff. We had the darndest time. There's a pond in the middle of it. Created a little pond, man-made. It's 3 feet deep, clay lined. It's all, nothing, no holes or anything. We planted all these plants around the edge of it to look cool. They're going to grow up. They're going to be home for turtles and snakes and frogs and all kinds of stuff. And then it'll take a couple years for that to come in, but they'll be cool. First week, they tore them all out. First week, the kids are standing out in the middle of the pond 3 feet deep, tearing everything to pieces. We're like, okay, that's good. They're connecting with nature all right, but they want all of our plant material. It took us a couple years to get stuff in, and now that it's taken hold, it's growing in, and the kids now can go in there and see turtles and snakes and frogs in this little man-made pond. We pile up a bunch of sticks up. Just let them build something with it. We put the frame in one of the slides, you might have seen a wooden frame of like a little cabin. But we don't put anything, we don't decorate it, we don't build off of it, we let them go in and decorate with it. We've got a yurt there that's full of baskets of just random stuff. Feathers, fossils, rocks, fruit, old bees' nests. One of the parents came, oh my gosh, there's a bee's nest in there. We're like, it's from last year, it's dead, it's hollow. But we just took a big wasp nest. If anybody's seen bald-faced hornet nests, they get about this big end of the summer, about that big around. They're huge gray things hang up in the tree. At the end of the year, they're done. Take one of those, took a bread knife and cut it in half and just laid it on a little picnic table. And just see the kids go over and start to go, wow, what is that? And one of the things, there's a rule, we don't run programs in there. We've got a great team of interpreters who go out and teach kids about nature, and we don't let them go in there. It kills them because they want to go in there and run programs. But the idea is we're not there to show you stuff. You can come take our programs outside of that. The idea of that space is you just go play with stuff. Tear those bees' nests apart. What you learn, you don't learn. You may come back to us later and say, what was that I tore apart? Why was it like a honeycomb? Why is it the shape of a honeycomb? Why? Sure. I have the same problem. I love having a fun workplace. We play practical jokes on each other. My staff put pink Post-it notes on every single thing in the inside of my office. There wasn't one thing that wasn't wrapped in pink Post-it notes from the floor to the ceiling while I was gone on vacation. Literally, it was just a giant pink. I walked in, picked up the phone, tore the sticky off of it, and just started working like nothing had happened. Okay, I'm all about that. That's a great thing. But it does make it hard. What we have to do is make sure it really starts on the front end. It always has to be as you're talking to new employees or your staff meetings. Hey, we want this to be a fun place. We want people to be relaxed. But you got to do your jobs. You have to articulate clearly what the expectations of those jobs are. And you got to be fair and follow up and say, hey, you're not meeting it. And so in those situations, what I always make sure we try and do is hit it early. Annual reviews, we're about to start them. They're a pain in the butt to do. But you got to be honest with people in those. If there's a problem starting, you have a conversation. And the sooner you start that, the better. So you say, you know what? What's your name? Alan. Okay, Alan, you're that employee for me. And I say, Alan, I'm not writing you down. I'm checking off in this box that you meet expectations. But I'm telling you now, in all seriousness, no joking, you're not. So in the next 6 months before we do our next one, here's exactly what I need you to do. I need you to do A, B, C, and D better. Because if you don't in 6 months, then this box is going to get checked the other way, and we're going to have a harder conversation in 6 months. 6 months comes around, you still haven't done it. Say, remember this conversation? Right? What did we have? We're still there. And here are exact instances where on A, B, and C, you didn't do what we talked about. Don't stretch on those. Use ones that they can't argue with. They clearly didn't do the job. For whatever reason, they didn't do the job. You stretch and they start to go, yeah, but there were reasons for that one. No, don't use that one. Use the one that there's no other reason or justification for it other than they didn't do their job. And then you're going to say, okay, now we got to take this to the next step. So we're going to go into a performance improvement plan. That means for 6 months, we're going to look very carefully at everything you're supposed to do. We're going to meet at the end of each month in those 6 months, and we're going to look at your performance. And if at the end of that 6 months you're still in that same place, my approach then is, okay, you're on notice. You're on probation for 6 months. We're going to continue this effort. At the end of the 6 months, you're still not there, your employment's terminated. I'm a nice guy. People know in my park, I like to have fun and everything. They also know I'll fire somebody. That, getting people to understand that, gee, he's a fun guy and everything, yeah, but he did fire that guy. That firing that guy, they don't forget that. But if you also have that process and say, yeah, but they gave him every chance. He was on a performance improvement plan. He was on a probationary plan. He had a last chance. And we all know he wasn't doing his job. They'll respect that most of the time. Managers, you are not going to be popular. Okay, it is not a popularity contest. Let it go. They're going to like you when you're funny and you're giving good news. They're going to hate you when you're not. Let them talk about you behind your back. It's okay. It's human nature. Deal with it. I got promoted in a job when I was in the Senate. I was one of about 15 staff people. All had different policy areas. And I was one of the newer guys, middle of the class, people older, people younger than me. And I got promoted to be their manager. And the day that it got announced, I walked into our cubicle, sea of cubicles, and the room just went poof. They were all standing in the back, and everything went silent. I go, come on, guys, it's me. We're going to get through this together. We're going to do good stuff. It's me. And the oldest person who had been my mentor, this woman who had been around for a long time, Carla goes, Paul, yesterday you were one of us. Today you're one of them. Deal with it. She was absolutely right. My job had changed. And I had to accept that I was going to walk into rooms, things were going to go hush. I will walk by the water cooler, things change. You're a manager now, it's different. It's not bad, it's not negative, it's just different. Accept it. When I would go to somebody's birthday party afterwards and all these people that I supervise or kind of watch me, you show up, you say hi, and then you get out of there. And you let them have a couple drinks, let their hair down, and complain about you. It's okay. It's okay, it's healthy. To a limit. They start bringing that into the workplace a lot, got a problem. Deal with it head on, deal with it honestly, and be fair. I never fired anybody that got themselves fired. I showed them exactly what would happen if they didn't change and what would happen if they did change. Here's the two ends. It's going to end one of two ways. It's your choice which way this goes. Very clearly. And you get to the end and go, I told you, 1, 2, 3, and 4. You didn't do it. You got yourself fired. What else? That is one of those sections that they gave me as an option to talk about on communication, and that is one of the biggest challenges. And it really, all I can do is, without spending an hour on this, is that takes time, and you got to start early. You got to really open it up and say, okay, folks, if I want to get the decision here, then I better start asking people what they think way back here and have multiple meetings. So when we plan a new park, I get a whole bunch of smart people in the room and say, okay, guys, here's a map. What do we think? Let's start putting it on the wall. What do we think? What are some options for this place? Anybody. Just start writing them down. Just start brainstorming. Everybody, what do you guys think? Okay, now, are there restrictions? I go to my planning guy. Are there restrictions to this? Yeah, we can't do this there because there's an easement over this. We can't build a parking lot there. Okay, well, we can't do that Be realistic. Okay, now, your idea was to build this grandiose thing, cost $10 million. I don't have $10 million, so we can't do that. Let's get, and then you just start watering it down. And it's a long process that takes time and meetings. It's not just one meeting. You got to have meeting after meeting after meeting. And the most important thing about a meeting is who's in it and who's not. I've seen more meetings and more planning go off the rails and be failures from the day they started because they didn't have the right people in the room. Didn't have the buy-in of the people that needed to be there. Are the people that are going to manage that new area there, that are going to keep it clean and neat and safe? Because if you build something they can't maintain, whose fault is that? Theirs? Or the people who built it? All you had to do was have them in the room and they go, you know, if you move this over to the other side, we'll be able to keep it a lot cleaner and a lot neater, a lot easier. Done. Okay, so we have what we call self-directed parks, which are places like Chagrin River Park. It's a parking lot, trails, bathrooms. People go hiking, biking, riding, do whatever, wander around, bird watch, exercise, whatever. That one's pretty straightforward. It has no permanent staff, it has no big structures. But it has about 375,000 visitors a year. Guess what our number one visited park is? Anybody? Cleveland Metro Parks, but thank you, it's a nice one, we'll take credit for it. Okay, Farm Park, Fairport, Chagrin River Park, not a building on it. 375,000 visitors, 372,000. Farm Park is fifth. Highest maintenance, most cost, Farm Park. Large animals, lots of staff, multiple buildings, old buildings that were used to be horse barns that were renovated into public spaces, got a pain in the butt rebuilding it and fixing things. Horses, cows, pigs, chickens, people to take care of the cows, people to take care of the chickens, people to take care of the sheep. By the way, the sheep people don't take care of the cows, and the cows people sure as heck aren't going to take care of the horses. If you make that mistake, you'll be told real fast. So Farm Park is definitely extremely challenging in some respects, but it's also a flagship. It's also where we do some incredible things. So, good?